This is a Miraculous Ladybug story called Tandem Lies. After an akuma attack, Adrien runs into Marinette, catching Alyas' attention. She wonders where they were throughout the attack, and without thinking, they say they were together. Adrien cleared the last few steps in a jump that would make a cat proud, and after managing to land on his feet, sprinted forward. Guilt ate at him since he had left Nino, Marinette, and Isla hanging when the akuma had attacked. Marinette had disappeared moments before, saying something about the bathroom, and now that the battle was over, he felt the need to apologize, even if he had to lie through his teeth. They had been hanging out, wandering the streets, talking about possibly going to dinner when the akuma attack had started up. To be honest, he still didn't know what this particular akuma's problem had been. He had just been frustrated that it had interrupted a nice evening out with his friends. The akuma hadn't even been a particularly difficult one to defeat, especially not the way he and Ladybug had been in so sync lately. Isla, of course, had run straight into danger for the sake of her blog, and Ladybug had seemed rather frustrated with the whole thing, even as he distracted the akuma and led it away from the civilians. Once the battle was over with, and he and his lady had split, Adrien had reverted back to normal, so he could join up with his friends once more. However, Adrien was still trying to find exactly where his friends had vanished off to. Turning a corner, he finally spotted Isla and Nino walking down the street before him. Just as he was about to call their names, he smashed headlong into someone coming out of a blind alley. They both cried out and hit the ground, causing Isla to turn and catch sight of them. "There they are!" Isla yelled, dragging Nino by the arm as she ran towards them. Adrien, however, could only gape at Marinette, who seemed just as confused to see him as he was to see her. "Weren't you with them?" they said at the exact same time, causing them both to stare at one another in surprise. The question was left unanswered as Isla and Nino made it to their sides, putting out hands to help their friends up off the ground. "Where were you two?" Isla demanded. "Yeah, man, you had us really worried," Nino said, and feeling pressured, Adrien blurted out the first thing that came to his mind. "I was with Marinette," Adrien said, as Marinette cried, "I was with Adrien!" Their heads swiveled towards each other, gaping at each other in shock. "What?" their friends yelled as one, and Marinette adopted a helpless face, obviously waiting for Adrien to say the first thing. He wanted to laugh, feeling as though he were going into battle once again with Ladybug, but this time he was facing off friends who could smell a lie a mile away. Or at least one friend could, that is. "Well, I went to look for Marinette when she went to the bathroom at the start of the attack," he started, glancing over at her, unsure of what to say next. "And he found me," Marinette squeaked, turning red again as their eyes met. "Yeah, but the akuma was attacking, so we couldn't find our way back to you guys," Adrien continued, warming to this strange, tandem, totally make-believe story they were concocting. "And because of all the chaos and damage, we ducked into a hiding spot to avoid getting hurt," Marinette said, a small smile telling them that she was enjoying it as well. "Wait, what kind of hiding spot? Also, why didn't you come back once Ladybug and Chat drove the akuma away from everything?" Isla demanded, interrupting the flow so that Marinette broke eye contact to glance worriedly at her. Marinette nibbled at her lip as Adrien shifted nervously. Then, as they glanced at each other once more, an idea hit her. We couldn't, because the door was blocked, so we were trapped," Marinette led, hoping that Adrien would back her up. "Yeah, we were trapped in the closet by some really large debris. I mean, part of that building must have caved in, and it was blocking the door. So we had to wait until Ladybug did her thing that cleaned up all the mess," Adrien agreed, embellishing the lie a little to make it more believable. Besides, in the battle, the akuma really had caved in the side of a building. Or two. Nino was covering his mouth with one hand, hiding his grin, as Isla peered between the two of them, something strange in her gaze. "Uh-huh," Isla said, prompting them to continue on. She was unsure whether to believe them or not, but for the life of her, she couldn't figure out why they would lie, or how they were lying so well together. "Well, we got out and started looking for the two of you, but we didn't see you," Marinette said. "So we split up," Adrien jumped in, before Marinette could say anything about running into them here on the street. "Right! We split up, and I spotted you a street or so away and took this alley as a shortcut and then ran into Adrien. Again, here at this spot, Marinette managed, feeling as though she had just run a marathon. Isla didn't look quite convinced. Okay, fine. But what else happened? She asked, sending both of their faces into frowns as they glanced at each other. Nothing else happened, Isla, Marinette stuttered. Isla tutted in disbelief, but before she could hound Marinette any further, Adrien broke in once more, speaking before he truly thought about what he was thinking. He couldn't help it, really. He and Marinette were totally in sync, a type of synchronicity that he had only felt in Ladybug's presence. I asked her out on a date, Adrien said, and 3 pair of eyes pinned him where he stood. Oh my God! Isla squealed, grabbing Nino and shaking him as Marinette scraped at him, a stunningly red blush darkening her cheeks. Yep, Adrien managed, eyeing Marinette, hoping he hadn't just totally screwed something up horribly. But then she gave him a smile that took his breath away, and she slid right up next to him. I said yes, obviously, she managed, still bright red, and Isla let out a second squeal that had Adrien's sensitive ears ringing. Oh my gosh. Okay, awesome. We're totally leaving. Have fun on your date. Talk later. Bye, Isla cried, and in the next moment, she was literally dragging Nino down the alley by the back of his shirt, leaving the 2 friends in sudden awkward silence. So, that was fun, Adrien said, looking over at Marinette, whose face was still bright red. Despite her coloring being close to a tomato, her bright blue eyes were sparkling with mischief. As her eyes met his, a bolt of pure rightness struck him, sending a shiver down to his very toes. Oh, that was fantastic, Marinette gasped and doubled over in laughter. I had no idea where that lie was taking us. Thank goodness you're quick on your feet, she managed, between giggles. Adrien giggled and grinned and laughed with her. Me? You saying the door was blocked was a stroke of genius, Marinette answered, giggling as well. Thanks, but saying the date thing is really what... Suddenly, she froze, her mouth hanging slack. Marinette? Adrien asked, confused and concerned by her sudden silence. Date? She squeaked, and Adrien blinked, shocked by her sudden regression into a shy, stuttering mess. Then her words processed, and he realized that it was his own stupidity that caused it. For a moment, he thought about telling her to forget about it, as Ladybug's face flashed across his mind. Then he truly looked at her and found that for a second he couldn't breathe. She was standing fairly close to him, her eyes still that stunning blue he had noticed earlier. Her fingers twisted nervously, and he realized that she was waiting for him to reject her. Without thinking, he swept one hand up and squeezed it gently. You know, technically, you did accept my invitation, he said, and a smile lit up her face as she looked up at him. I suppose I did, Marinette answered, her sass coming back full force. I suppose we should figure something out, so we don't have to tell another crazy tandem lie like we just did. Well then, princess, shall we go get something to eat? He teasingly asked, missing the jolt that seemed to go through her at his words, while offering his other hand, conveniently forgetting the one he already had in his grasp. Sure thing, handsome boy, she replied, her voice all sass as her hand joined his. Her reply sent a familiar, oh-so-right tingle down his spine, and Adrien could only think, what the hell, it's only one date, right? Pulling her close and wrapping her arm around his, they moved down the alley, wearing matching grins of goofiness, not knowing that that single act opened a whole new future for the both of them.